What's up, everyone? Jason Gilbo here with Rob Mazaika, taking a look at the Friday NBA slate. 9 games, pretty good slate here. I mean, the only real low-scoring game that I see is going to be the Pistons and Spurs, but everything else pretty much in play.
Yeah, it's a fun slate tonight. There's a lot of games that have a lot of high totals. It's going to be a fast-paced game. Bunch of teams that are bad defenses facing off against each other. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, definitely. I think my favorite game right now that I'm looking at, probably Denver and New York, but I also like Indiana and Washington. And then New Orleans is a pretty close one as well.
I'm with you with that Indiana Washington. That's my favorite one of the night. But the games like Denver, New York, you mentioned New Orleans, Minnesota, Lakers, Bucks, and Nets and Heat are a bunch of games with that pretty high totals, and it's going to be easy to find plays in these games.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we do have some injury news, but a lot of it's kind of figured out already, so that is nice. And immediately at point guard, Emmanuel Mudiay out, so that just means Jameer Nelson's going to see some time at point guard again. I don't mind him, cheaper price. He's not a must-play for me, though.
He's not a must-play for me either. His price is kind of cheap. We're not getting him at the 4K flat that we were getting him a few weeks ago. He's 4,400 on FanDuel. But he's a safe bet for at least 20 fantasy points in this matchup against the Knicks.
Yeah, definitely. He's getting the minutes are going to be there. It's not a bad spot for him. If Ty Lawson's out, I don't mind Darren Collison because you actually know the minutes are going to be there. They've been actually kind of cutting into each other's ceilings at times this year. But if that's the case, Collison should get a lot of run. Usage won't be as high as last time out just because Boogie's back.
I like Collison a decent amount tonight. His fantasy score from last game was a little inflated because he had 4 steals. So he had 40 fantasy points, which is really around 30 if you take out the steals. So that's probably about his upside, 32, 33 points. I think he can get it in this matchup against Atlanta because he'll be up against Schroeder. But it's just with Gay out and Boogie on the floor, Boogie takes a lot of that usage, and Collison just gets what's left.
Yeah, he does. And it's still not a bad spot just because, I'm not on a lot of these other guys. In that same range, you have like Tyler Johnson. I don't mind D'Angelo Russell in a tournament, but more, I'm kind of looking elsewhere because there are a couple guys that are just only a couple hundred higher.
Same here. D'Angelo Russell 4 tournaments definitely in play for me, though. Just his minutes have been pretty sporadic lately. He was getting back to 30 minutes a game, and then all of a sudden went down to 20 minutes a game these last couple games. So tournament only just because of his inconsistencies.
Yeah, definitely. And a couple hundred more. Derrick Rose in a great spot. Love targeting point guards against Denver. Bottom 5 defense there. I don't mind him at a cheap price. Will I use him in cash games? Probably not, despite how much I like the matchup. But I definitely don't mind him in tournaments.
I don't mind him either, but I prefer in the same price range, $200 more expensive actually. Ricky Rubio. He gets a big bump in usage with Levine off the floor. A lot of people think that Levine's usage will go to Wiggins and Towns, but a lot of the production tends to go to Rubio. And if he's going to get you 35 minutes in this matchup tonight against the Pelicans, who are terrible at defending opposing point guards, I have a lot of interest.
Yeah, really cheap. I like him a lot on DK if you can get that double-double bonus with him and his assists. This is a guy we've seen 40-plus fantasy points out of. And as you mentioned, a really great matchup. And you talked about Schroeder just being on the defensive side. I don't mind him actually offensively tonight. Always a GPP guy just because he's really just, the mints are always kind of out there. And sometimes he takes the nights off as far as usage goes. But, we've seen the upside. And if you can get a 40 out of him at that price tag, it's a big difference.
I agree. Both Schroeder and Rubio are the same price on FanDuel, so I like both of them.
Yeah, definitely. And Mike Conley never kind of gets the pricing that he deserves. I think that Golden State Memphis is going to be pretty low owned as far as just really the stars in that one. And obviously being in Memphis, I don't really mind targeting these guys. Obviously the overtime game last time out. So if you're looking at box scores, it was always just crazy numbers anyway, but they're actually in a pretty good spot here.
I agree. Memphis typically plays well against these big teams. This should be a nice matchup tonight, Memphis and Golden State. It should be an exciting game to watch. Should stay close throughout, and like you said, it went overtime last time. It definitely could again.
Yeah, it really could. In Memphis, so you got to give them a bump there. As far as pay-up options, I don't mind Dragic, even though he's a little bit more expensive. But I think Wall's the guy still in that real top tier.
Yeah, Wall's at the top facing Indiana. I actually like the other side of that even more. I like Jeff Teague. He's been smashing against Washington this year, averaging about a little over 40 fantasy points per game against them. And at his price, it's just almost too good for me to pass up.
Yeah, it definitely is. One guy on DK I don't mind in a tournament, Eric Bledsoe, 7,200. Mints have been kind of trending downwards, fantasy play after a really hot stretch, so I am a little bit concerned, which is why he's GPP only. But with the reduced price tag, good spot, TV game as well, so I'll toss in Bledsoe in a couple tournament lineups.
I agree. I like him on DraftKings more than FanDuel. I don't think I could touch him at 8,300 on FanDuel right now.
He's way too expensive. I mean, there's way too many other guys in that range.
Yeah, exactly. There's Teague, there's Dragic, Holiday. Those are all guys you could play over Bledsoe.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone else a point guard?
That's it.
More shooting guard injuries here. I mean, Dwayne Wade questionable with the illness. I'm not really interested in the guys that are filling in for him, but if he's out and Butler plays, I do like Butler.
Yeah, same here. If he's out, Butler plays, my interest definitely swings over to Butler. I think Butler's going to play today, though.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he was closer last time out and didn't get to go, but this one he certainly should. Deion Waiters questionable. I like Ellington just because he's the cheapest alternative fill in there.
I like Ellington a lot, especially if Waiters is out tonight. It's a matchup with the Nets, and we'd love targeting players against them, and it's definitely a spot where Ellington could get hot and put up a massive fantasy day for his price.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like Dabo Cephalosha is still on the questionable side. If he's out, I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. has been a great fill-in option for him.
Yeah, he has been. I've been using him for a while now. His price is starting to get up, so it cuts into his upside a little bit. But he's a good scorer. He can get a couple assists here and there too. He's a decent play.
Yeah, and a great matchup. I mean, shooting guards against Sacramento is certainly one way to go.
Yeah, definitely. Going up a little more, you had some interest in Devin Booker.
Yeah, I do like Booker. I mean, I'm not particularly afraid of Dwayne Wade if he goes. I think Booker at home is a little bit more intriguing for me. This is a guy we've seen with some good upside, especially, with games that do pick up and pace a little bit. So I don't mind Booker. He's obviously scoring dependent, but, this is a guy that we've seen hit 30 plus, real points in the game. And I think certainly tonight can be one of those.
Yeah, he was really hot a few games ago, scoring over 30 real points in 2 straight games, career highs almost. His streak just ended of scoring 20 points in I think it was 25 straight games. It was something ridiculous. But he's a good shooter, like you said, shot dependent, and it all depends on if a shot goes down.
Yeah, I mean, at the Memphis game, it draws a little bit of there was a blowout, Tony Allen, tough defense. The New Orleans game was certainly frustrating, though.
Yeah, very frustrating.
So, what about Bradley Beal? I mean, this is a guy who's been, lights out shooting the last 2 games. Against Indy, I don't mind him.
I don't mind him either. His price on FanDuel might be a little bit high compared to the ownership he's going to bring. He's 7,500, and I expect him to be one of the higher owned players of the night. And he's just a guy who I typically fade at high ownership just because, he's shot dependent. I mean, he's picked up the slack lately in rebounds and assists, but he's mainly shot dependent, and it's a good play in tournaments to fade those type of guys.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Beal's never been my first Washington option. I tend to go with Wall and Morris and Gortat, but I don't mind him just because he has been rolling hot and it's not a bad matchup. And if Morris is out, I mean, there is a little bit more usage to pick up.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a guy that's going to burn you if you don't have him.
No, definitely not. Will Barton, I mean, this guy's been money the last 2 games, been playing big minutes, 38, 37. I mean, Fareed's out. If they're going to continue to roll that lineup, I mean, I'm going to be plugging him in. Yeah,
I'm plugging him in too. He's probably the best value in the night at the position. Fareed's out. Gallinari's probably out. It's just a great spot for him. He's been playing great over 35 minutes last 2 games, and against the Knicks, it's a great matchup too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, another value guy kind of deeper down that I know you brought up to me before, Tony Allen, just seems like kind of that guy who can get you, about 25 to 30 fantasy points in a game like this.
Yeah, it's just that type of game that fits Tony Allen. In these up-paced games, he can probably get a couple steals, maybe a couple blocks, a few assists, a couple points here and there. He just does a little bit of everything.
Yeah, he does. I mean, obviously he's not going to go for 20 real points, but as you said, he's going to kind of put the pieces together, put up a pretty good fantasy night.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyone else you like? I mean, that was kind of it for me.
Just a little bit of interest in Gary Harris for the same reasons as Will Barton, but I strongly prefer Barton over Harris.
Yeah, I mean, he's played up big minutes, but upside definitely leans more towards Barton. But, I mean, if you need the discount, I don't mind him.
Yeah, same.
Small forward, I mean, I'm not really on Giannis on DK, a little too expensive for me. Durant, 9,400 seems okay, but I kind of rather go with Paul George and Melo at a really cheaper price tag.
Yeah, Paul George and Melo are my two pay up options tonight. I prefer Paul George just because he's finally been playing well, hitting his ceiling. It's a great matchup against Washington. We've seen him perform in it a couple times before, and it's just a good spot for him.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I mean, he's my favorite small forward as well. He's done well against Washington this season, has averaged 30 real points in 2 games, and still really isn't at a higher price tag on DK. And I believe FanDuel, he's 8,700, so a little more up there, but I think when you take the discount from Durant and the other guys, you don't mind it.
I agree. And going down a little bit, I like Andrew Wiggins a little bit, just because of, like we said before, with Levine out. He picks up a little bit of slack. His price is getting up there, but he had a huge game last time out, and I think he's motivated to try to put up another big one tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a good spot against New Orleans. I mean, I like those Minnesota guys quite a bit. Wilson Chandler in a similar range, I don't mind tonight. I mean, he's a guy who probably other than the Denver guys, I prefer Will Barton a little bit more. But I do like Chandler, who's obviously going to pick up some of the slack there with those guys out.
Same here. He definitely picks up the slack with, especially Gallinari out.
Yeah, definitely. And Porter was a guy you were looking at, right?
Yeah, just because I love that game, though. I mean, it's the type of game. He's at home. He shoots better at home, plays a little better at home. And that game, it could end up being the highest scoring of the night.
Yeah, really could. And I mean, he's picked up, pretty good amount of rebounds here of late. 10, 6, 9, 6, 6. So, I mean, he's actually been putting up some good peripheral stats.
Yeah.
So I don't mind him.
Yeah, leads the league in 3-point shooting percentage, too, still, I believe.
Yeah, so I mean, at home, as you said, Washington, team has certainly played better at home. As far as cheap guys, I mean, I don't mind Brandon Ingram. Good spot for him. Cheap, finally getting some more consistent minutes. Kind of getting the ball in his hands a little bit more for some usage. So as far as cheap guys, I certainly don't mind looking his way.
Yeah, he's probably the cheapest I'd go on FanDuel at 4,100. You said he's been starting. It's a good matchup with Milwaukee, and he's been playing. He's probably a safe bet for 5x.
Yeah, I think so too. And I know you were looking at, and you've been actually looking at a couple of times, is Bogdanovich.
Yeah, he's one of my boys. He's on the Nets. Had a huge game the other night. Missed a big shot against the Wizards at the end, and he was very disappointed about it. But he played well. He's been playing a lot better of late. Had some of his better games his career against Miami. It's just a matchup where he could exploit, and he's starting to get hot right now.
Yeah, it really is. I think the only other guy that I'll take a look at is Matt Barnes. Still cheap enough for me to use him. I think maybe we give it another game or two before he's out of my price range.
Same here. Yeah, price is getting up, but yes, I still have interest.
Yeah, definitely. Power forward here, and obviously a little bit different, but Jokic on FanDuel, certainly in play. I'm going to lean more towards GPPs, though.
Same here. It's a high price, 9,900. The minutes have been a little consistent since coming back from his injury, but the Knicks I don't see them stopping him, though.
No, I don't either. I mean, I like that game a lot. And obviously you can look at Anthony Davis for 1,000 more. Dropped a monster game against Minnesota earlier this season. I'm curious to see how him and Towns kind of just square off against each other.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch, him and Towns going back and forth.
Yeah, definitely. And do you have any interesting guys like Green, Millsap, Aldridge kind of moving down the list here?
Not really. I'm really looking towards like the James Johnson range. He's 6K on FanDuel, and with the matchup against the Nets, it's definitely a spot where he can hit his upside.
Yeah, I like Johnson a lot. And I think in that range, I mean, Julius Randle, I'm somewhat intrigued in a tournament because I know the big bounce back game is coming soon. Definitely just a tournament play, but 5,700, that price has really finally dropped because, I mean, he was in the 7K range when he was playing really well. So now we kind of get him at a discount.
Yeah, it's one of the cheapest prices we've seen him at all year. If he has big triple-double upside, he could do it again.
Yeah, really could. Not a bad spot for him either. This is probably, the mid-range here I'm not really that big of a fan of. I mean, Trevor Booker's a guy I'm looking at, but outside of that, I'm not really in on a lot of cheap guys here.
Same here. Trevor Booker is probably my guy in that 5K range, just for an easy 25 fantasy points. Like, he really won't get you like a 35-point game, but he's a safe bet for around 25.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's a guy who contributes across the board, too. If Zach Randolph is out, JaMychal Green will easily see 30-plus minutes. I don't mind him.
Same here. I don't mind him, but only if Randolph is out, though.
Yeah, definitely. Outside of that, though, I mean, that's pretty much it for me.
I got a couple crazy guys.
Oh,
We got
God.
we got Willie Cauley-Stein at 3,800. He had that huge dunk the other night. Maybe the coach liked it and wants to give him a little bit more playing time. He been boomer bust. If you look at his game logs, last 5 games, 25, 9, 26, 7, 28. I mean, going with that trend, it's supposed to be a bad game, but he's got the upside. And then one last guy, he's Juancho Hernan-Gomez, my favorite. Willie Hernan-Gomez's brother. With Fareed out and Gallinari out, he could get up near 20 minutes against his brother tonight. And I'd love to see a tournament one with the Hernan-Gomez stack.
And the only person that would have that stack would certainly be you.
Most definitely, but you know what? Crazy plays are my thing.
Moving over to center here, and I mean, I like some of these pay up options, but there's a lot of guys on DK I like a lot right in that mid range.
Same here. I like Miles Turner in that range specifically. We keep talking about that Indiana-Washington game, and it's a spot where he's performed a couple times this season, and he has shown big upside too.
It really has not. I like the opposing center in that one. Polish Hammer, Marcin Gortat. He's been a guy that I've just been, basically riding the train with because, one, I mean, he's just a consistent double-double at this point. Last 5 games, averaging 15 and 12. Indiana, not a good rebounding team. They ranked 28th. And his DK price, 6,100, is just way too cheap for me.
Yeah, he's probably the safest play of the day over on DraftKings.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you can use him on FanDuel. I mean, he's 7K, so the prices come up just a little bit, but it's still a good option.
I agree. And then I already touched on, my Hernan-Gomez stack. But it's a good spot for my boy Villy. His price is getting up there, but I'm still using him in tournaments.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I like him on DK, only 5,200. And as you said, the minutes have been there. And he's still producing well of fantasy points per minute dollar.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with Noah out, the minutes are going to be there. You're right.
Yeah, definitely. And outside of that, I mean, Dwight Howard on DK is certainly intriguing, 6,700. I like Marc Gasol a lot on DK if you're kind of looking to pivot off of some of those names.
Yeah, I like Gasol too, especially if you want to do a Memphis Golden State game stack, especially if you could hope for like an overtime or something.
I mean, it's going to be low owned, so I don't mind going that route.
I agree. And his price on DraftKings is nice.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if I am paying up at the position, Karl-Anthony Towns is going to be my go-to guy.
I'm torn between him and Whiteside just because we haven't seen a Whiteside healthy game against Brooklyn yet, and I'm excited to see what he can do against that terrible defense. But Towns is definitely a great play at his price too.
Yeah, it really is. And Whiteside's absolutely been just crushing the last 4 games, really. And as you said, I mean, it looks like he's finally healthy. And the minutes have actually been up. I mean, 34, 36, 27, but that was the blowout against Philly where he dropped 30 and 20 anyway. So he was fine.
He had almost 20 and 20 at halftime. It was ridiculous. I don't even want to know what he can do against my Nets tomorrow, but I'm excited.
Yeah, no. So he's certainly in play. Who's your highest score that's not a double-digit price tag?
That's not, I'm gonna go Whiteside.
All right.
I think he could just absolutely destroy the Nets. It's just a game. We haven't seen him healthy against this team yet, and the Nets give up a ton of blocks, ton of rebounds. It could be a 20-20 game with him if he doesn't get in foul trouble.
I like that quite a bit. I'm going to go with Jokic just because he's $100 less than 10K.
That's fair.
So that's going to wrap things up. Be sure to head on over to DaveFantasyCafe.com. Check out our great tools and content.
Yeah, good luck, everyone.